Hey everybody, how's it going? Andrew here, and I just wanted to do a quick shout out to all the women devs out there and honestly all the women in the games industry out there. You know, we're closing International Women's History Month, the month of March. And earlier in the month we had, International Women's Day, which was on March 8th. And I figured what better way to kind of wrap this amazing month up than to pay tribute to all the wonderful women out there, especially in the games industry, than to feature a woman-owned company as our guest for this episode. This guest is really making amazing strides as a woman-owned studio, co-founded by three amazing women. And it's also important to just make note that what they are doing and how they are growing their studio, it really can just provide valuable insight for anyone listening. But still, I think it's important to call out that it's three women that are doing this. And like I said, no better way than to pay tribute by having them on the show to talk about their experiences, challenges, and everything that they're doing to really make amazing things happen. So with that said, I also want to give a quick shout out to Yi Zhang of Heart Machine. She's a community and PR manager for them, and she was on the show not too long ago. But the reason why I'm thanking her and giving this shout out is because she actually helped contribute to some of the questions we asked our guest today. So Yi, if you're listening to this, can't thank you enough for your support. Additional support, not just by being on the show not too long ago, but then also your complete willingness to helping us out and making sure we're asking some really good questions for our guests today. So again, to all the women out there, thank you so much for being a part of this industry and making what it is. And that's all I got. So let's get right to the show. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Indie Game Movement, the podcast that talks about the marketing and business of indie games. I'm Andrew Pappas. I'm going to be your host today, and this is episode 296, where we're going to be talking about taking a three-pronged approach to building an indie studio. Now, the path to success as a game studio is full of obstacles and opportunities. Reflection and outlook are a common theme here on the show, as well as a theme of fostering a healthy culture and mindset. And of course, all this starts with having a strong foundation and doing things a little differently. So today, we're meeting with the co-founders of Astral Clocktower Studios to explore how they took a three-pronged approach of building their studio by leveraging their different perspectives and skill sets to create a foundation that promotes growth and opportunity. So that's what we're going to be talking about right here today on Indie Game Movement. Hey everyone, and we're back. And today I have such great, wonderful guests with me today. I have Astral Clocktower Studios. I have a few team members here and founders, Tiff Gomez, who's one of the co-owners, lead level designer. And I have Sarah Schaufstall, which is also one of the owners, and she's the marketing director. And unfortunately, the founder and producer, Ali Brutman, couldn't make it with us today. It's okay. We have lots to talk about. But first and foremost, thank you guys for being here on the show today. I'm really happy and excited to have you here. How have you been doing?
Well, thanks for having us also.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're really stoked to be chatting with you. It's been a minute since we've done anything like this, so there's a lot of cool updates that we're excited to share with you.
Oh, well, I love updates. And I really love what we're going to dive into in a minute. But before we do that, I wanted to kind of like share a little bit more about some neat things that we've been doing. First and foremost, you guys are creating this game called Crystal. It's a dark fantasy ARPG. From what I've seen, and I know I've been in touch with Ali for at least since the summer here and there. And from what I've been following and everything, it looks really exciting. And I can't wait for you guys to share that a little bit more. But one other thing I wanted to call out to, and we'd love for you to like share any thoughts or whatever. I mean, you have some really good achievements already as a studio. For example, like you were the winner of the Gamer's Choice Award in 2022 Unlocked Games Contest. And the second annual showcase celebrating women game developers and women led dev teams. I mean, those are some serious and really awesome accomplishments, which I'm sure you're very proud of. So just, I would say congrats on that. And I'm sure you have a lot of future aspirations from those achievements too.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's cool to be women developers in this space, first of all, but then to also be, acknowledged for that. It was, it's a really awesome achievement. So yeah, thank you for calling that out.
Yes, especially the fan one. That was my favorite, just because the recognition from our fans, the people that are going to play this game. So, which is important.
Yeah, I know, because it's always like we're shouting into the void, even if we know or not, but it still can feel that way. So that type of recognition can make all the difference for sure. Mm-hmm. So that said, I would love for you guys, well, first to kind of, if you don't mind, share a little bit about your role with the company, kind of what you do, and please, if you could also share a little bit more information about Crystalla, because I mean, this, like I said, this sounds great, dark fantasy, ARPG, like right up my alley, but you guys are going to definitely be able to elaborate on that a little bit further. So I guess whoever wants to go first. Sorry, I should probably call out.
I know. No, that's okay.
So I'll start, Tiff, if you don't mind. Then
okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
We didn't really talk strategy here, but here we go.
It's all right.
So yeah, like you had mentioned, Andrew, Crystalla is a story-driven dark fantasy ARPG. There's a heavy focus, in addition to the story, on strategic and fast-paced combat. You're going to see a lot of classic RPG elements, and there is an emphasis on Souls-like mechanics. So you'll be able to choose your own style of combat. You'll avoid damage by blocking, dashing, rolling, deflecting attacks, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
You can combo light and heavy attacks, utilize a bunch of weapon abilities, and lots of spells. And then, Tiff, maybe you can take over on just like who you're playing as and what kind of the like goal of Crystalla is, if you want.
So you play as a cat, but like a really super cool Onagatipa cat. And we're very much cat people, so we wanted her to feel but also look like a cat. So you get a lot of, special abilities that are related to that. And part of the gameplay also kind of ties into that as well. You are on a quest. How into detail should we do, like the whole crystals as well, Sarah, do you think, or just like an overview?
I would say overview, just because I know I know how these things go, and I will be the first person to digress and go off topic big time today. So why don't we do that for my sake? Because I will do that.
No worries. So you're going on a Rocksaka proving, and you're going through tests and everything, and once you start off, you notice things are slightly different than people's experiences in the past. Your ultimate goal is to pass the proving, master all the magic, and become a Rocksakar. Did I miss anything? That was a real brief overview. So
no, that was
well, I gotta say, it sounds great. It sounds really interesting. And it will definitely, it has definitely hooked me. So love to see more, and I encourage everybody to follow the project if they haven't. Definitely up and coming, exciting stuff. But as cool as that project is, we're not necessarily, well, we are and we aren't here to talk about that. We're talking about a lot more different things. But before we get to that, before we get to the core conversation here, I'm going to have you guys go through the Q box round. And for those of you who aren't familiar, it's just simply a series of random questions I prepared for our guests today. So Tiff and Sarah, are you guys ready for the Q box round?
We're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Now, based on what you guys shared already, I think I know the answer, but at any rate, the question is, if your studio had a team mascot, what would it be?
Cat, for sure. But beyond that, just a super quick fun fact. I think even just between Allie, Tiff, and myself, we collectively probably have 20 cats.
Mhm.
Like just between us three. So we are
Two
huge
dogs.
cat lovers.
That was like predestined. Awesome. All right. And here's one. I would love for each of you to reply. And also too, the fact that Allie can't be here with us now. If there's ever moments where you know answers that she would provide or anything, feel free to fill in for her too,
Sure.
because I love that perspective as well. But the next question is, what's one thing that motivates you every day? So let's start with Tiff.
So this was this game has gone completely different. This was actually a dream that I had. This idea way back when Allie and I first met. And the thing that motivates me the most is waking up, and every time I open the project, I just go into the level and I just stare at it because it's gorgeous. As a kid, I was always very drawn to the level design side of games. Like I'm the person that goes and stares at like all the little things. I notice all the little details. So for me, my biggest thing is like what we had in our brain is now not a reality, but you know what I mean? Like a reality. Our dream has like manifested into something that we can play. So that's
it's like
it's huge. It's like it's so cool.
It's like a tangible visualization. And sorry, I didn't mean.
Yes.
Okay.
No, you're fine. It's like exactly like it's just so cool to see this coming to life, and every day it gets a little bit cooler and a little bit more intricate and more detailed. So yeah, that's my biggest motivation is I want to see more. I want to see the final vision come to life.
Awesome.
So
and Sarah, how about you?
Oh, I think for me, so I'm not a core developer, right? I'm one of or I'm our marketing director, right? So I don't have a hand in making bringing Crystalla to life development wise. So what is motivating for me is literally watching these wizards, including Tiff, including Allie, just do their thing and bring Crystalla to life. And the more the game has morphed and changed over the years and gotten better and better, the graphics better, the combat cleaner, and just everything improving, that really like excites me as a marketer too, as I'm sure you can relate, Andrew. It's like half the battle is getting the content that you need to be putting it out there. And so when I have the type of content that I'm seeing now from Crystalla, I mean, there's no better motivation than that for me. So
yeah, to finally reach the people and communicate with them, and then for them to like engage in that response. Oh yeah, exactly. Cool. And then now, last but not least, what games are you playing right now? So we'll start with Sarah. What games are you playing now? And Crystalla doesn't count, by the way.
That was on my. That was on.
So we can put that down, but it doesn't count. You got to give us another one.
Well, we are doing a lot of testing, so that it's in there. But no, currently on PC, I've been playing a little Shadow of Mordor. I've been playing it for the first time, and that's been going well. And then on the Switch, I've been playing, and I know I'm so late to the game on both of these titles, but I've been playing Breath of the Wild Zelda on my Switch, and I've been loving that one. It's just beautiful.
Those are two good ones. I stopped playing Breath of the Wild because my son kept destroying my games, so I give up. But that's life. I think I've shared that like numerous times now on the show, but it's a reality.
How do you ruin?
He kept playing my levels and saying he was helping me, which I appreciate, but then it's like, oh, all those weapons I had and they're gone.
The arrows for me. I'm like, I can never have enough, and I'm not a solid aim, like especially when I'm moving. Like I just haven't quite mastered it,
Yep. Cool. All right, and Tiff, how about you?
The game of life. I have a 5-month-old at home. So to be honest with you, I have not had any extra time. Oh, there was a loud car. Sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, I mean mainly Crystallo. Let's be real. I play that every single day. But when I do get a chance to kind of like, I don't know, decompress, I usually watch my husband play video games.
Okay.
And he's been playing Elden Rings
Ah,
lately.
I've
So
been watching a lot
I
of
like,
videos of Elden Ring
yes,
lately too.
yeah, like I like to watch games honestly more than I like to play, which is kind of a weird thing, but I like to look at everything, and I feel like when I'm playing it, I don't get, it's a different experience for me.
Yeah.
So, I guess actually playing, I would have to say like The Witcher 3. I always go back to that game.
Okay.
So that's like my jam. So
No, I
That's
hear
super
you.
true though, Tiff, as like a level designer. I can imagine it's, you can observe more, right? While
yeah,
you're like watching and like take
yeah.
in, all the
And not
environment.
getting like shot at or something, you know what I mean? Or like somebody's coming up from behind me and I'm like, I was looking at this like, I don't know, cave wall real quick, like leave me alone. So
I
yeah.
love that.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit more about yourselves and the Q Box round. Very interesting stuff. And yeah, so now that we got that out of the way, I would love to kind of dive in a little bit further with their conversation. And as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking a little bit more about taking this three-pronged approach to building an indie studio. Because again, I mean, you guys have like a pretty interesting perspective and way of doing things, and it comes down to like just the three of you and what you're doing and everything else. So to kind of kick off this discussion, I was first curious in terms of like how did each of you get involved with each other, get involved with Astral Clocktower Studios, and what led you to forming this team? I would say this we'll get into it more, but like the three of you, and then forming what you have now, which is a pretty substantial team. So how did you guys get involved?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll go first. So Allie and I actually met in college. We took some game design courses. It's like game programming and design. And we met in one of our like this group project. We got paired up. And so we kind of kicked it off. And then, afterwards we were like, hey, let's practice these skills that we just learned. And so we set out to make just a fun, easy 2D game, which is now Crystalla. So it's it morphed a lot. And so then we started the studio kind of like right away, just as like a fun thing. It was just like a fun, hey, let's make a game studio. Like we have degrees in this now, so that's cool. And then Allie knew Sarah, and I won't tell your story. So
Yeah, so Allie and I actually used to work together at a day job. She was doing software programming, and I was the marketing manager there. And interestingly enough, I wasn't a huge gamer at the time. I didn't have any like interest in shifting into the industry, but Allie and I became very, very fast friends. And I'm talking like, I think after a week of knowing her, she was like, hey, do you want to join as a partner of this game studio with me and Tiff? And I had to think about it for a little, and then I said, hell, why not? Like, let's do it. And
Nice.
Obviously so happy that I did. I mean, I can't imagine the life where we weren't all together in Astral Clocktower Studios. Yeah, it's weird to think about, like,
it's
wait,
so
there's
weird.
something more? But yeah, that's I guess kind of how we joined together as owners. And I will say, Andrew, we chatted about this off air a little bit, but Allie and Tiff knew from the beginning that they wanted marketing to be a core focus for the studio and for any games that we create. So I'm really thankful for them for bringing me in as a partner owner, and so that we could focus on developing the brand for the studio and for Crystalla, from the start, from the get-go, which I think is so important. So
game changer, literally.
And it's really interesting because a lot of times you don't necessarily we don't see that happening, or it doesn't seem that very common. So it is interesting to hear. And kind of on that front, and what you guys said, like, I would like to kind of discuss a little bit this whole three-pronged approach, as I'm calling it, because it's now you've come together. And what I find is interesting is, often a studio has like a single founder or maybe two that are in a partnership. So in light of this, with you guys, what kind of led you to structuring your studio the way you currently do with having three co-owners?
We knew like very early on that more than one owner is like, it's just so much better. We lean on each other a lot.
Yes.
And we always say like, we're like a married couple, because our lives are so intertwined with each other. And I honestly, like, kudos to the people that own their own studios by themselves, but I just, no, thank you. It's just, they're always there for me, like we're always there for each other. We're always there to support. And like, when like things are just looking just blah, they're always there to be like, hey, it's going to be okay. We're here, we're in this together. And I know that sounds cheesy, but for me, it's so true. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I rely on both of them a lot for my mental stability. So, and three minds is better than one too. You get three different perspectives of looking at either like some situation, whether it be good or bad. So, yeah, I think that's pretty important too.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely lean heavily on the multiple perspectives. We all have different backgrounds too, different ideas, different thoughts on life and the way that we view things. And so not only does that help from like a business development standpoint, but also, when you're crafting a story for a game or you're trying to chat about, some mechanic or something that you want to add in, it helps to have those perspectives for us to just be like, okay, yeah. No, what you suggested sounds better. I like that. Let's go with that, kind of a thing.
And you know what's really interesting too with what you shared is, I know you hear it all the time that partnerships aren't for everyone, right? But then, Tiff, you mentioned how it's really like a marriage, and that's like a constant comparison you hear when talking about any type of partnership in a business is like a marriage. And it's just really cool that it's like how you guys were able to kind of identify that and see it that way, because and it's not just saying like these things can work for everybody, but it sounds like you have this really clear understanding. So with each other and everything else. So this kind of brings me up to another question I have. With any partnership, it's pretty clear and important to complement each other's skills, know how to, overcome adversity, while also being great communicators. So I'm curious as to like, how were you able to find that right balance with each other that felt you would set your studio up for success?
Interestingly enough, I don't think like when we started, right, we were all just like fledgling newbie, developers, studio owners doing this together. So when we started, we never really had like a conversation about like, we had like our individual roles and specialties, but we weren't ever like, okay, you're going to handle legal stuff or the biz dev stuff, and you're going to handle, hiring employees and this and that. And it just kind of was interesting that over time, sort of like Ali emerged as the clear leader in doing those kind of things, which I actually think was helpful to have that clear leader, right? Because it can be tough if you're trying to, all serve in that role, and then you're butting heads, and it's kind of just a struggle the whole time. So I think number one, just with experience and getting to know each other and how we work as professionals within an within an industry, that just kind of emerged. But beyond that, we do have to be in constant communication because we're a remote team, right? Like no three of us owners all live in the same state, right? And beyond that, the rest of the dev team. So,
Yeah, I think a lot of practice So we've known each other for what, 4 years now, Sarah? Was that
Five,
longer?
I think
Jeez.
5 now. It's crazy.
So it's crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, we talk all the time. All the time. We're always talking. We've had ups and downs. Like every relationship has that, right? Whether it be friendship, business partners, marriage, whatever. Like you're always going to have those ups and downs. But it's, for me, how you work through it, like how your communication skills are. And I think that we have learned how to communicate with each other, so that we all feel heard but also understood. So
Definitely.
practice, though, lots of practice.
Yeah. I would say so too. Of course, because again, sometimes we think we can be great communicators and we aren't. And how do you communicate that or show that or be self-perspective and and identify that? Really cool. And I think, and let me ask you this too, because I'm just curious in terms of like complementing each other's with the skills and stuff. I mean, you have pretty definitive roles within the company too, outside of just being owners. Do you think that's a key aspect too, in addition to the communication, and what kind of really allows you guys to look at things differently and then rely on each other?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like we each have our core focuses that we are sort of leading. We all have a team of various number of folks that's working directly with us. So that helps too, just with a large team, to have it kind of split up with who's kind of reporting to who and all of that. But yeah, I think that kind of helps us like stay out of one another's hair, if you will.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
And then also be able to come together and talk about different stuff too. Like
Yeah.
we're not all talking about the same thing. We're not, so.
No, it's really good. And I think it goes back to what you were saying, Tiff, in terms of like, a lot of practice and understanding like maybe even boundaries, and let's say more like business related boundaries and stuff, and respect and things like that. Because I mean, it's a process to work through those things, and some people can't. And I mean, it sounds like you just guys mesh so well and clearly understood and everything. So it's just really great and exciting to hear. Now, in light of this and this understanding and how you communicate, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of your foundation too. So you mentioned how you guys kind of met together, came together when you were young, out of college. I mean, I'm sure you're still young. I don't know your age, but I don't want to imply anything there. But like I'm curious in terms of like what were some of the earlier challenges you guys encountered as a studio, and how'd you go about overcoming them?
I think the biggest challenge was like in the very, very beginning, we were all working. So this was very much I just got home from work. I'm tired, but let me put a few hours in, let me work on the weekend, and trying to figure out that flow. And then, we were total noobs. So we were like, how do we even do this? So that was like a huge challenge for us. And it was just like, we know what we want. We have a vision. How do we get there? And just trying to figure that part of it out. I think for me, that's the biggest thing for me that stands out.
Definitely. And just to piggyback on that, not only, did we have jobs, but the team, everybody was a volunteer at first. Like us, even though we're business owners, we weren't like making revenue at that point. So it becomes difficult with volunteers to be a little bit more like demanding if you wanted to be, or to be more critical of one's work, constructively, of course. But that was certainly a challenge to just really find our footing with like, okay, how do we make this work with a team of volunteers versus now with a team of, paid developers. It makes it easier to, go back with that criticism, or to just make certain requests of folks, so.
Right. So
yeah, that was a challenge.
So, and let me So, and how did you overcome that? I mean, if you have these volunteers, and well, was it helpful to have that clear vision, or were there other strategies or things that you did um, to empower them? I mean, what kind of things did you guys do to make sure that you're building this team, and it's imperative to support them and everything, but it's also imperative that they carry out your vision and what needs to be done. So, what were some ways that to kind of keep them around and still get the results that you needed for the project?
Oh, I
I
mean, we
know.
didn't. Yeah, I'm like trying to think, but I think the one thing that pops to my mind is just we didn't request that much of folks back then. It was just please. We operate via a Discord server for the studio,
Mhm.
the whole entire thing.
Hmm.
So it was just check in once a day, please. Communicate
Yeah.
with us. Let us know what's up. And so
Yeah.
like if somebody couldn't meet that very simple ask, then maybe they weren't a good fit, and that's okay. We'll find. I think it was just people emerging with that same passion and
Mhm.
like drive
Mm.
that we had for this idea. I think that's really how it happened at the beginning. Just that like-minded group of folks who just really want to see this idea succeed. I think.
Yeah. And like we like a nice like chill environment, like I honestly it's still pretty, it's not relaxed. I don't want to say it's relaxed because people are working, I don't know. But it's not a ton of pressure. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
you get your work done, and we're not like going to hover over the top of you and be like, oh, it's been 2 minutes. Aren't you done with that? Um, so I think for us, I think the thing that worked out the best, we had a lot of students. And
Yes.
when
Yes.
you're fresh out of school, you're like, I want that knowledge. I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to make this thing work so that I can say, yeah, I did that. I learned this. And so yeah, like you were saying, Sarah, I feel like we found people with that passion and that drive, and it just worked. I don't know. Maybe it's because we're just really nice and people want to do things for us, but like, I don't think that's it. But I think we got lucky, and we found people that were passionate about things, passionate about learning, and passionate about our idea and wanted to see these things succeed. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and that can pay off quite a bit. I mean, having that passion, and then kind of setting those clear expectations. Uh,
Hmm.
like just that simple combination. It doesn't have to be like overly detailed, but it sounds like that combination, at least for you guys, worked really well in terms of building that team and getting it to where it is today. Um, I'm sorry.
I said definitely. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. So now I want to kind of dive deep a little bit more into the project itself, because like there's other things I'm curious about too, because since this is your inaugural game, your first game, um, have there been any particular like development challenges or even things that you've had to learn or pick up along the way, whether it was solely related to development, relating to your team, anything that really stands out with this new project, because there's a lot of unknowns with your first project.
Hmm.
Yeah, the one big thing that comes to my mind is that, like, for being students or folks new to the gaming industry, in my case, we aimed high. Like, we took a big swing with Crystalla. We're still taking that swing,
Mm.
and so, um, you know, a new-ish team, a very ambitious project, and as much as I hate to say it, also being women developers.
Hmm.
In some cases, we're just written off or you know expected. I feel like there's this expectation sometimes for women in gaming where we're expected to make these, like, I call it the pinkified effect, where like
Mm.
cute, cozy, and there's nothing wrong with those games. I love cute and cozy games, but it just, people are like, oh, you're trying to make like a dark fantasy ARPG. Oh, okay. I feel
Yeah.
like that definitely was a big challenge to overcome for us, for sure.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, and I feel like the more we develop this game, the more, visually appealing and like combat is freaking awesome. People are starting to take us seriously now after all this time. And it's like, yeah, I hate to say it too, Sarah, but it's like, it does. Being a woman in this industry is tough. You have to do the work and then put 4 times the amount of effort into it, just to like prove yourself, which is very annoying, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think that we're doing it. So, which is a nice feeling, to be like kind of overcoming that struggle.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm glad you brought it up, because I'll be transparent with everybody here. Is, I know part of this was focusing on the aspect of, hey, it's a woman-led owned team, and these things that happen, like you said, like both of you said, it's like this is a huge challenge because of the understanding or what people think, or those expectations, those preconceived notions that people have. But I just think it's really cool that to call out to those things, because these are still things that that lots of different people out there face, and to acknowledge that, and then to showcase that, and to use that being a driving force is just really cool to hear.
It's interesting too, because it comes up in ways that you might not like expect. Like with our marketing, for example, like we totally have had multiple conversations where it's like, do we really push that we're a woman-led studio, or is that going to hinder us in some way? Or with like pitching to publishers and investors, there's been conversations where it's like, well, shit, excuse my language, should we send one of our male teammates to do this pitch? Because it felt like we're getting no after no after no. And trust me, I get it. I know that is par for the course. But it's just interesting, these conversations that come up that like you might not think about, if you're not like a women-led, or like a woman in this industry who's trying to make, these kind of decisions. It's just interesting.
It's just you have to think about those things, and it sucks that you have to think about them, but we would be stupid if we didn't, like that. It's still there, and hopefully one day we will live in a world where that's not a thing and it doesn't matter. And it's like, no, people are telling you no because it's a no and they don't like your game.
Right.
So, and it's not us thinking like, well, is it because of us? Like, does it not have anything to do with the game, which sucks, but it is what it is. And, we're still here. So.
And it is motivation, like that overarching that you were talking about, Andrew. It definitely is motivation.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's like you take the bad, you're taking the lemons and you're making some kick-ass lemonade.
Yes.
Awesome. So, in light of that, in light of those challenges and factors, I mean, I think a lot of these things too, and how you get this motivation, are really driven by some core values. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what are your core values as a team, and how have your experiences or different perspectives informed, what's important for your studio's vision?
And we kind of touched on it already, right? I mean, I think just having a diverse and inclusive space within the studio is so important to us. Not just to uplift the people who look and think like us, but also the team is international. Like, I think at one point we had somebody on the team from like every continent, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Or close to it.
Yeah. And like all of those different perspectives culturally, it adds so much to our dynamic as a development team, but also the ideas that go into Kristalla. Like there could be some storyline or something, or some side quest or something that we propose, or somebody proposes, and then someone else is like, oh, actually that's like sort of uncouth, or like aspect could be offensive, or you know what I mean? Just these like little things where we're just having this like melting pot of individuals, which leads to a melting pot of ideas. It's really cool.
That's definitely. I'm sorry, Tiff, say anything
Oh
else?
yeah, I just one small thing to add too. I think like one of the things that was very important to us as like, studio owners was we wanted to make sure that everyone was comfortable and, can express their, their ideas or their concerns in a way where it wasn't like they were, like not to make it feel uncomfortable. Cause I don't know, I've worked some jobs where it's like, you don't say anything because, you're going to get shut down or, maybe your opinion, doesn't really matter. So, but I feel like we've always made sure that everyone feels, like they matter, and because they do.
Yes.
I think that's one thing that we make sure is everyone feels included. Everyone's, we're very inclusive. And so, yeah, like Sarah said, the more ideas, the better, right? Because then you're getting a bunch of different perspectives rather than like one or two, So.
Yeah, and that level of diversity can really create, like, again, just more opportunities, more ways to see things. So there's just so much more that can come out of that, which just makes it all really, like you said, like just this melting pot of ideas, which is just such a cool thing to think about. Now, one thing I'm also curious about, though, because I mean, your team has grown quite a bit, if I'm correct, since like around like 2018 or in a yeah in a like you said, kind of like 5 years of forming and everything. Um, I'm also curious too in terms of like what were some of your considerations when hiring. As it related, we kind of touched upon the culture a little bit, but like as it related to hard skills, because that's maybe a little bit more tangible and hard focus, I guess, in a way, in terms of what was needed. But what were the things that we were looking for? Like, give me a kind of paint that picture of what it was when you started, and then how you grew from there. Because I'm a little curious too, because again, the team just grew quite a bit, and you're going strong still.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, is volunteers. So when you are not able to pay people and they have a limited amount of time, that kind of limits the field. So we had to, in the beginning, it was people that had extra time and wanted to work for free, basically. So yeah, I mean, it's a little different. And then I feel like the talent pool expands once you're like, yes, I can pay you now. You will have an income. You can make this your, full-time career. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
sorry,
Sarah.
go ahead, Andrew. We're both super kind. No, I was going to say, oftentimes too, where it's almost like how it is in any industry. It's like networking and like who you know. So like
Yeah, that
you
too.
would, meet one person and then, they're doing modeling. And then we're like, hey, do you know anyone else, any of your modeling friends that, also want to work on a game, or, hey, do you know any level designers? And
Mhm.
honestly, that's how I think that's how it first started. And then, I mean, we have like several folks who are still with us since that time. And so that aspect has never gone away.
Yeah.
Like Tiff mentioned, once you're able to offer somebody an income and you can pay them and compensate them for their work, then it's easier to go after those set skills. And oftentimes we are still looking for students, or we're posting to job boards or whatever, and just putting the feelers out and seeing who who takes the bait. And now obviously now, we're like, let's see your portfolio and let's have a chat with you. And maybe there's a like a test programming thing or
Yeah. We
thing
like
that's
to do those.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's how it's kind of shifted. But honestly, I would say primarily just that networking aspect, and just speaking with gaming communities and developer communities, and who's raring to go, who wants to take the bait,
Yeah. And we've had a lot of like really good interns, and a few of them that have now become like paid employees. Because we know what it's like to be, fresh and not have that experience, to put on your resume, and nobody hires you. So we've always been pretty big on that. Like, you know what? Let's give people that want the experience. And we've met some really cool people that way. So yeah,
Yes.
so like this, networking is really huge. I feel like it's still like that. Like we've had two people come onto the team from someone already on the team. So yeah.
And those are the best. Those are the best types of referrals or potential recruits or candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Typically,
yeah, because they know how they work.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they're great. They have great work ethics. They're really talented, and so it's like, okay, like you already know what you're signing up for. So, which is awesome.
And
it also makes it easier too, just like what we were saying, we are like a completely remote development team. So like our talent pool location wise is like the world. Anywhere. So,
Yeah.
It really helps us to, just, find that right fit, and we're not hindered by like geography.
Mm-hmm.
So considering that too, because the one other thing I'm curious about too is like in terms of as it relates to hard skills. I mean, a lot of considers like, hey, we have to use what resources are available to us and things like that, right? And then in starting out, it was a lot of volunteers, a lot of students. Was there any type of degree where you guys kind of took that initiative to offer or help train as needed? I mean, I would say I'm thinking more directly if that did come up, or was it just that these students were so passionate they were just self-taught, or these volunteers and everybody, where it was just more self-taught and just driven to make sure they could deliver on what you were asking? Was there anything like that? I'm just trying to better understand in terms of like what that process was like, and if it was like that at all.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say both.
I think there have been instances where like if somebody wasn't familiar with 3ds Max over Maya, for example, we would allow them that time to get familiar with the program. Or if somebody was joining our narrative design team and they have experience writing but not within gaming, then we would hook them up with a virtual class or something about video game writing. That was certainly in the beginning how I think that started. Now it is easier to look for that more experienced teammate if we need to, but I mean, we really are all about, if you want to learn, if you're passionate, and if you're going to work hard, like we're about it. Come give us space.
Nice.
I feel like if you are struggling with something and you're like, you know what, like I just don't understand this, or I need more information, we're like, okay, how can we help you? What would be best for you? Like, do you want like a one-on-one conversation about this, like, and I can give you advice. And then if that still has like, you still have questions about it, like, hey, let's find something, like a class, a course about this. So yeah, what Sarah said.
No, and thanks for sharing that. Sarah, I'm sorry. Anything else?
I just was going to say too, I think a big thing that we've run into with folks too is just like their hardware they've needed too. So
okay. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. We're totally willing to like provide the hardware someone needs. We've certainly bought PCs, laptops for folks. Like we try to, now that we do have a little bit of our own funding, we really try to, set people up for success. Like if you have all those things we're mentioning, if you got that passion and you want to do it, like we'll help you, we'll get you the tools, that you need to do.
For sure.
And that's so good to hear, because I think everybody out there really has that intention and meaning, but sometimes it can be difficult to follow through for whatever the reason is. So to hear that that's one of the things that you're doing is great, and probably really can attribute to what you're working on, the success you've achieved so far, and what I feel and hope will continue to go on, because again, it comes down with this strong foundation that you've built. So definitely good to hear. So I know we're coming on time, but before we go, I'd love for you guys to kind of take a moment and provide us with like either 3 suggestions or tips you'd recommend our listeners today based off on discussion. So, anybody have one that they want to share first?
I mean, as our marketer, I'm going to say try to focus on marketing from the beginning. I know that it's tough, and I know especially if you are a single developer, like you're like, when am I going to have the time to do the marketing? But just try to think as you're developing, oh, maybe I can record myself designing this level, or maybe I can record this session where I'm programming or animating or whatever it is. Just try to build up a cache of content for yourself so that you can just share your work with the world, because the sooner that you get established, even if you're not like posting 50 times a day, whatever, it doesn't even have to be that, but just be present, let people see your work and see what you're doing. So I think that's my number one.
Nice.
I would have to say, like, just keep going. Like, when you feel like this is not worth it, this is, like nothing's going to ever happen. Like, if you still have that drive and you still have that passion behind it, like, just keep going, like one step at a time, take a break if you need to. Obviously mental health is important. But like, don't give up on your dreams if they're still your dreams. Like, make something big, and don't compromise either. I feel like that was the one thing we did. We didn't compromise. We wanted to go big, and we did.
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
And it's paying off. It took us a little bit to get there, but it's awesome to see that, and it feels good. So
and I think I would add too, just to be able to do exactly what Tiff was saying, have a supportive community around you, even if you are that solo dev. Like I said, like, seek out, there are so many Discord communities, Reddit communities, Facebook communities, wherever you digitally hang out, or in person too.
Yep.
But for us, it's usually digitally. But yeah, just find that core group of supporters that can help you through those difficult times, or can give you that advice to just keep you going one more day until you get past a hump or a problem that you're facing. You know what I mean? I think that is so vital, especially so true for us.
Yes.
Awesome. All really, really good tips there. And thank you so much for sharing them. Now, it is time for us to end this. I mean, I feel like we could go on forever because there's so much great stuff that you guys are sharing with us today. So, but again, thank you. But before we do, what's the best way that people can reach out to you or learn more about Crystala? I know you have a lot of cool other things going on in the works, so please share what that might be. Website links. Where are ways that where can people find out more or contact you guys?
Definitely, yeah. So if you want to learn more about Crystala, you can go to crystala-game.com. That will also take you to our studio page, so you can learn more about our team, more about kind of our history as a studio, all those kind of goodies. If you're looking for more in-depth development updates, you can join our Discord community, which is just called Crystala. And you can also check us out on Patreon. We are going to be launching playtesting very soon over there. On socials, we are ACS Games on everything. If you just search Astral Clocktower Studios, you'll find us. What else? Am I missing anything else?
No.
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Cool. Well, again, I mean, I can't thank you guys enough for sharing this insight and everything from the challenges you face, how you overcome them, and just how you just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's a lot of helpful information that a lot of people out there can leverage, especially women that sometimes, feel like they're alone. And it's nice to know that, I mean, they should always know that they're not, but it can feel that way. So glad to have you guys be part of that for us and kind of really paving the way for everyone out there. So thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Indie Game Movement. I'm Andrew Pappas, your host, and the show's producer is Mustafa Price. Rengen Marketing is a consulting marketing company that helps indie devs with their marketing efforts. Whether you need guidance with your game's marketing strategy or could use a free marketing plan template, then please visit www.rengenmarketing.com and take action. A special thanks to Dakota Saw for Season 2's opening theme and Melissa Gellis for the new logo design. And as always, thanks for being such great listeners, and we'll see you next time on Indie Game Movement.